You ever been at a job where you play the time game and you say, man, I'm not going to look at the clock for like 3 hours, right? And you say this at 9:05. You know, you just got your coffee and everything like that. You chatted with Dave and Bob and Susan, and everything is good with the weekend. And then you play the game and you're just crunching away, crunching away, crunching away. You look back at the clock, you're like, surely it's almost lunchtime. And then you come to find that it's 9:27 and 32 seconds because you're counting the seconds at this point. What's up, world? Welcome to The Legal Hustle, your no-nonsense guide to hustling legally and how to get yours. I go by the name JT Hustle, and today we're going to cover a very, very important topic. I hope you got your coffee. This is very, very near and dear to my heart. Having been through it myself, and then also having coached and mentored people throughout this process. What are we talking about, boys and girls? We're talking about 3 reasons that you might want to consider a career change. And without wasting a whole lot of time, I'd like to jump right into it. One of the first things, if you look at the left side of the spectrum, that might make you consider changing your job or your field or profession is the fact that you make money, however, you're not very fulfilled in what it is that you do. So what that looks like is somebody that is working a whole lot, making great money, and when they come home, they feel depleted, right? So you feel as though there's nothing rewarding, there's no give back, you're not really making a difference. So I know that's more of a millennial type of thinking. However, people do look for balance, and one of those things to help balance is the fact that you find your work important. It is very difficult to convince yourself, hey, just to get this check, I need to do this. I need to perform. Why am I doing this? What is the purpose? What is the greater value, right? How are these skills transferable and so forth? These are things that you need to think about. What ends up happening and why this could be a double-edged sword, because I know a few people might be thinking, well, what the hell would be wrong with making a whole lot of money? I don't really care what it is that I do. I just prefer, to be able to have my bills paid and, my family taken care of. And while those things are very, very important, what could end up happening is that you do this job for a number of years and the money's great at first and you buy all the toys that you want and everything like that, but then it never becomes enough because you're trying to fill a void that you're not finding at work, right? So there are alternatives. One is the bad alternative. The bad alternative is to start fulfilling other financial interests. So this will be in the ways of a bigger house, a better looking car, spending excess money and things like that, overextending yourself financially because that's the only thing that you find value in terms of what you do. So since I'm going to make this money and I don't really enjoy it, I'm going to enjoy the money that it brings, right? One downside to that is the fact that say the company shuts down, say your position is no longer needed, you will still have those obligations to take care of. Not to mention, you're also still going to have the mindset that you're making the same amount of money. It is not uncommon for people to have been laid off or there be a job transition, right? Where there's been a shift in the employment at the ABC organization where your job is no longer needed. And then you have to go look for another job and it might be below what your means have now become because you've spent so much time and energy in filling that void. The other alternative, which is what I would suggest, is find something to volunteer in. Find something that you actually do care about, that you're passionate about. If your work doesn't supply it, go online. There are plenty of resources that are needed, no matter what your skill is, to be able to show somebody else. There's a saying, in our culture, each one teach one, right? So if you know something that you feel like somebody else could benefit, 2 things could happen. Number 1, you'll change somebody else's life. You'll have that fulfilling feeling. So actually 3 things. You'll have that fulfilling feeling back. And then lastly, you can end up finding out, maybe that you're better at that other thing than what it was that you were doing. And you could find a way to make it profitable to where you can do both. So that is number 1 on the spectrum. You make a lot of money, but you're not really passionate about what you do and you don't feel like it makes a difference. So you fill it with other excess items that don't really do much for you in terms of, your personal ambitions, your personal goals, and what you find value in. Number 2, opposite side of the spectrum. You don't make a whole lot of money, but you love what you do. every day you go into work jazzed up, ready to go. What's the new adventure, right? So there are different, career fields that this might be. So teachers come to mind. Things like EMTs, veterinary technicians. Nobody will disagree that they're, extremely important jobs to our infrastructure, to people both directly and indirectly. And there are a lot of jobs that are like that do great, valuable work, but they just don't pay for a number of reasons, and that's a completely different topic. However, if you find yourself in this situation where you have more month left than money left over, I'll let you keep that one for free. You got to pay for the rest. Then you might want to consider a career change. You might want to consider a number of things outside of the career change. What you can also do is start side hustling. Start finding ways to generate income to support the fact that you like what you do. If you're going to be away from your family from 9 to 5, you want to make sure that it's something that you enjoy doing. If you have that, you're among, extremely small amount of few where you're lucky essentially in what you do. However, most people fall on one or the other side of the spectrum. It's a lot easier said than done, right? So now we have the gig economy. So it's 2021 as of this recording, where you can find, separate work. You can go deliver packages, you can deliver food, you can go to YouTube. There's a lot of different options and a lot of things that you can take advantage of. Start working on some of those passion projects. Start working on that side hustle. Maybe a skill that you've been neglecting for a little while, maybe that you did a while back. Maybe you can generate some money from that. And what you'll start to find is that you might actually find a way to make more money doing that than what you're currently doing. And then you can either do both, or you can, choose to make the change. But it's very, very difficult to go to a job knowing that it doesn't meet your ends for what you want to do in life and the goals that you have. You say you want to buy a house. It's going to be extremely hard with certain types of salaries, right? If that is a huge goal to you, how else can you make it? Either looking at another job or, having some sort of side hustle to help generate some additional revenue. So the last one, and this is kind of in the middle of the spectrum, and this is where a lot of people might find themselves. I know personally, I've had all three of these. I've had a lot of money. I've had a lot of money and no value. I've had no money and a lot of value, and I've definitely had both. So this is where you're not making a whole lot of money and you don't find value in what you do. Let me give you a synopsis or a story, and let me see if this sounds like something you've been through yourself. You ever been at a job where you play the time game and you say, man, I'm not going to look at the clock for like 3 hours, right? And you say this at 9:05. You just got your coffee and everything like that. You chatted with Dave and Bob and Susan, and everything is good with the weekend. And then you play the game and you're just crunching away. You look back at the clock, you're like, surely it's almost lunchtime. And then you come to find that it's 9:27 and 32 seconds, because you're counting the seconds at this point. Then you're in that middle spectrum where you're not really finding a whole lot of value in what you do, and it's even more difficult because when you come home you have nothing to show for it. So this is an extremely dangerous place to be, because it leads to a number of things. Number one, you're going to be easily swayed by anything that comes up, and I've had this happen. Everything is going to start sounding like a great idea. Somebody's like, hey, they might have an opening at a chicken cutting factory, and it makes X amount. And if that X amount is a little bit more than what you make, boom, you're there. If, hey, man, you might be able to, get on the ground level of something new and, really be able to create something and make a difference. Okay, cool. So I could be a leader in a new position and, do great things. Boom. While I'm not saying that those aren't risks that might be necessary to take to get you out of your current situation, what I'm saying is when you're in that middle spectrum, it makes it a whole lot easier to say yes to bad ideas. And a lot of times you won't have the alternative of, hey, I really have something good going on, because you don't. Let's be honest, right? Like I said, I've been there. I really have something good going on. Let me consider and weigh my options before I make that move. So then you end up at the new spot and it's 50-50. It could work out perfectly for you, and if so, excellent. A lot of times you'll end up in the same or a similar situation because you haven't taken the time to really dive down, find out what it is that you would like to do, what you think would be, the best angle and what you would find the most enjoyment out of. So this is why for all three of these steps or all three of these phases, and the middle one is going to take a little bit of both, right? I suggest work outside of your 9 to 5. Find time to find those things that you're passionate about. And then once that passion meets something that you're halfway decent or that you feel like you're excited about, you can find a way to make it profitable, right? There's a DJ AM, who has a quote. It says, find something that you would like to do for free, that, whatever it is, right? Like, I find it therapeutic to clean houses or something like that, for an example. I find it therapeutic to, make music or whatever it is that gets you going, and then find somebody to pay you for it. And that's really where the two ends meet. So if there was another part of the spectrum, it would be where those ends meet and you make enough, and you're also fulfilled in what it is that you do. So the next topic we'll have for a separate video is, what should you do, right? So you've come to the conclusion that, hey, what I'm doing isn't really doing anything for me, right? In either one of two ways, either financially or one of three ways rather. Either financially, either out of fulfillment. Maybe I've reached a glass ceiling of some sort and I can't learn any more than what I've already learned. I've already climbed the ladder as high as I can go. Then you might, or if you have both and you're like, well, I'm not only broke, but I don't like what the hell it is that I do anyway. You know what I mean? So what you can do then is start looking at some of those passion projects, side hustles, side gigs, start networking with people, find out what other people do, and then, go as far as to have a mentor like myself, like any of one of my colleagues. And while this might seem difficult to find, not nowadays. So at one time it was, but there's all kinds of social networking that you can use to your advantage for more than just updates about, celebrity gossip and news and things like that. Make this your passion. So we'll talk about exactly what the steps are to start planning, and then strategizing, and then finally executing, you moving on to a different career. All right, hustlers, that concludes today's video on my 3 top reasons why you might want to consider doing a career change and or coming up with a side hustle, volunteering, and other ways that you can fulfill yourself with what you're currently doing, and also hustle and work on what the next move might be. These aren't swift transactions. This is going to be something that you're going to have to work at over time. The good news is you got your boy in your corner. I'm going to be your guide. If any one of these points on the spectrum sounds like you, I'd like to hear back from you. I'd like to hear your comments below. Any one of those stories, if you've ever played the time game where you're checking, if you've ever bought something and you just thought, man, this is really going to make me happy, whatever the case might be, reach out to me and touch me. Go ahead and comment below. I'll leave my email address as well so you can reach out to me, and then also on my social media platforms. It was real. Until next time, always remember, no shine before the grind. JT Hustle.